Welcome in, one and all. It is time for Three Guys Before the Game, episode number 496, titled Hail Married. You can fill in any other title that you want to fill in there.
Probably a couple other words you could put in the title.
Ouch. Blank, 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 blank. Recapping West Virginia and Houston. We'll get into it. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems. Keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. That's 25 years. Visit them at comaxwv.com. Three Guys brought to us by GoMart. Go to gomart.com and get yourself a rewards card. Save money every time you go in. Gas, fuels, foods. Visit gomart.com. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans, selling family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com, the premier pontoon boat dealer in the state of West Virginia. And coming up, Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers.
By the way, this would be a nice fall boating day today. Recording on Friday. It is beautiful out there.
Given what happened,
leaves changing.
we should all just, after this, we should really go out on the boat.
Should have probably done this broadcast from a Lou Wendell Marine boat.
Yes.
Out at Cheat Lake looking at the flowers.
Nice.
Or the leaves.
Probably quite a few people would like to jump off of a bridge into some water.
Exactly.
After last night. All right. Let's get into this thing, man. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We jump right in. West Virginia loses to the Houston Cougars on a Hail Mary that ended the game by a final score of 41-39. It will forever be etched into the minds of Mountaineer fans forever and ever and ever. If you're a regular listener, viewer of this podcast, oftentimes we refer back to various games. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, there's just some that just come off, boom, 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 boom. We go, 96 punt block Miami. Mm-hmm. Like we just, boom, as if it was happening yesterday. Or, we even go back, we go, the 31-all tie that felt like a loss against Pitt.
Yes.
Or the 13-7 game, West Virginia. We just have these games. Mm-hmm. And this becomes one of those, unfortunately. Yeah. And as I told Hoppy earlier, Brad, this also will go kind of like the Miami game that West Virginia lost at the Orange Bowl after Quincy's run. Like that was going to become the iconic memory of all time.
Yes. Quincy's run was going to be, yes.
Quincy scored the touchdown, West Virginia beat Miami, and then they convert and they win. And so the same thing here. All right. So,
because Hudson Clement, we'll remember that for a long time. That would have gone down. The Hudson Clement name was about to become an all-timer.
Yes.
Right? We would have, well, probably not us doing the show here in 25 years, but somebody would have had Hudson Clement on. Hey, remember that touchdown you had against? That would have been an all-timer. Still an unbelievable play, and I know we'll get into it, but you're right, very similar to the Miami 03.
All right, Hop, you've had somewhat of a night to sleep on it. What do you have?
Yeah, Tony, so many angles. But just what you said, that's I think for coaches, and where Neil Brown started in his press conference it wasn't just about the last play, it was about all the other stuff. And from a coach's perspective, yes, and we're going to get into all that. But from a fan perspective or an observer perspective, it's all about the last play. And like you said, that's the unfortunate part. I bet there are Mountaineer fans like us who've seen 400 games, 450 games, whatever, and I've forgotten 350 of the games, okay? But like you said, when that happened, I'm thinking, Tremaine Mack, 1996, south end zone, blocked the punt, nobody blocked him. It was an illegal handoff forward. I remember all that. The Quincy Wilson, he had the run, but you know what I remember more than Quincy Wilson, unless I watched the video, I remember Kellen Winslow Jr. going up and grabbing the ball, making a big catch. On fourth down. So that's the bad thing for fans is those things are just, they're there. They are not going away. They will always be there.
Occupying space. They'll always occupy space on your CPU.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right up there with the all-time gut punchers losses. There's no question. And the two Miami games here I think are relevant because each of those teams did something different with that adversity. Unfortunately for the team, the 96 team, had a really tough outing the next week against Syracuse and ended up losing 4 of its next 5 games, changed the whole tenor of that season. The 03 team went a different direction. That was a springboard game. They went on to win 7 straight and a share of the league titles. So we'll remember this game forever, there's no doubt. But what comes next is really the most important part of this story now. You can't do anything about that loss. And that'll go down as a great missed opportunity because, to use a baseball analogy, West Virginia didn't have its best fastball last night. But good teams find ways to win when they don't have their best stuff, and West Virginia was right there about to do that. That would have been a game had you won. We'd be sitting here today going, how about that offensive performance? Air Green just going bananas, and all the performances from receivers. You would have had a ton to build upon, even though the defense didn't do what it had done up to that point during the season. But the offense picked that defense up and almost carried it across the finish line. So I get that there's tremendous missed opportunity in that. But to me, now the story becomes, and we'll do the download of last night's misery. I get it. That's what this show will be about today. But to me, the bigger part of the story starts now. And what does that locker room, what are they able to do? What's this coaching staff able to do about getting everybody back together? So far, they've been very good. They've been resilient. They've been connected. They're really going to need to be connected now to make sure that's a footnote, not the legacy of this season.
Right, and that's what we often talk about in August, and we kind of sit here and we smile and we giggle because what do they always say? It was always the best off-season conditioning that we've ever had, and our team chemistry has never been better. That's every single team, every single August. That is all correct. And that very well may be true in August. But now at this moment, this is when the actual character of a team is revealed. Mm-hmm. You will find out the soul of this team. And I think that this team to this point, previous to last night's game, it showed us its soul. It's a battling team. It is a hard-nosed team. They don't quit. Evidenced by that last drive in the Hudson Clement play.
Yeah, so they showed it last night too, right? Even though it's a loss, they still showed you that.
They gritted it, and they gutted it. And so if I had to lean one way or another, you'd say, I think they're going to respond favorably, but you do not know. But this is that moment where you show who you are.
No question. No question. And next week being at home obviously helps that. Mm-hmm. And there are some things that you can pick out of that game, namely the performance of the offense and the passing game in particular. And quite frankly, we'll get into this too. The repatched or reworked offensive line didn't run the ball with your normal success, but my God, they pass blocked, right? Garrett Green had time. We'll get into some of those grades. Those guys up front did a nice job in the passing game. So there's some things you can pick up and hopefully move pieces of those forward. Defense needs to clean up some of its areas. We'll get into some reasons why they didn't have the same type of performance they've had. But yeah, you got to pick yourself up now and battle back in. And that's sometimes easier. It's just going to sound weird. Sometimes that's easier for coaches and players, because they have to get right back to the work, right? The work begins immediately, and you can lose yourself in the preparation moving forward. It's harder as fans to move on because you don't have another game for another week. Yeah. And this one just stays in the forefront of your mind, and I get that.
Yeah, so a couple of different pieces on this thing. You had 38 points scored between the two teams in the first 3 quarters combined, 38 points. The last quarter, 42 points. So it became this just bizarre back and forth dramatic. Let's face it, if you didn't cheer for Houston, if you didn't cheer for West Virginia, you're just some guy sitting down there, right, with a Kercheval in the middle of America somewhere, and you say, I'm going to watch this college football game. You'd walk out of that thing, and you'd go like, whoa, was that a wild, fun, entertaining game? It's all of those things, but obviously someone has to suffer through the pain. And it gets even more painful, and I'm not going into your territory here on stats. I'll just give like the base stats. But if there ever was a game in which statistics could lie to you, it would be this one. Mm-hmm. I mean, you always say, well, first downs. If you can get 25 first downs, like you're gold. West Virginia had 26. Houston had 20. Rushing yards, $155 for West Virginia. Houston gets 140. But take a look at the average yard per rush. 5.4 for Houston, 3.5 for West Virginia. One of the ones that I just kept staring at last night was possession time. Holy heck. 36 minutes and 46 seconds, so say 37 to 23. Favoring West Virginia.
Do third down conversions.
Oh, my gosh.
Do third down conversions. 13 of 19. You can't do a whole lot better. So to back that up, those are often, Tony, called counting stats. We call those, not the advanced statistics, but the counting stats. So you're right on all those, and that usually shows you a win. I'll go further. I'll give you an advanced stat to back that up. Post-game win expectancy coming out of that game for West Virginia, even without its best fastball.
Don't even tell me.
80%, 79 point something.
Based upon the numbers.
Based on the number, yeah. So what that does is it looks at all those stats, puts them together, and when a box score looks like that looks, the West Virginia side of that box score wins the game 80% of the time.
I'll give you the non-statistical analysis. It was a weird game. Okay, you know how some games are games and they look sort of normal and the stats look normal and it all adds up and you go, oh, okay, it makes, I look at a lot of games on Sunday and say, what happened here? And you look at the stat sheet and go, oh, okay, well, that makes sense.
I could see how that happened.
I mean, it was just a weird game. Weird things happened in that game. And it was just that. It was unusual.
Here's the other part, and there's a million offshoots to this, but I know it's an oblong ball that doesn't bounce normal directions. West Virginia got two of the all-time great bad bounces last night. The Jalen Anderson wheel route that could not have been thrown better. Right past the guy's shoulder. Garrett Green put it right there. And you saw Jalen look up for just a second. He had a guy closing down in on him, so I get it's easy to criticize. I didn't have a guy running at me about to lay me out. I get it. But that ball not only was incomplete, which would have been tough enough to handle, but you probably still get a field goal out of it. Not only was it not incomplete, it wasn't the touchdown. It didn't fall helplessly to the ground. It pops up and the guy picks it off. He didn't even know the ball was there. The guy was beaten. He didn't even know the ball was there. It falls into his hands. And then the Hail Mary at the end. So there wasn't just one bounce last night. There were two, and those were massive plays.
But on the first one,
and I'll admit, when the Jalen Anderson play happened and then Houston gets the ball back and goes 58 yards on the first play and scored a touchdown, I thought right then, okay, that's it. That's not West Virginia's night. They're not winning this game.
Yeah, that was a 14-point swing.
Yeah, I thought that was ball game right there, and you couldn't come back. So to your point about resilience, I give that offense credit. 88 yards in a minute and change to get down the field to score that go-ahead touchdown. But man, those are some really unlucky bounces in one game. Two massive bounces.
Yeah,
there were instances too that I guess we have to talk about. Garrett Green taking his helmet off, and Neil Brown was very upset about that in the postgame. I mean, really upset. I mean, he called it asinine, and especially after what happened with C.J. Donaldson in an earlier game. So, I mean, Brown was just beside himself, and I think that was sort of like the epitome of the mistakes, the penalties and stuff. This is like one more thing. Like, what are you doing? Why are you making it, Brad? Why are you making it harder?
Yeah,
why are you making it harder for yourself? So that, and then on the Hail Mary, I mean, two obvious holds, but you don't get hold calls on the Hail Mary. So there were things like that too in the game that are going to stand out. That people are going to talk about.
And what did we talk about? Special teams going into the game.
Oh.
And they allow a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown.
Caught a break that you didn't give up two special teams touchdowns. I mean, so that was a performance, and West Virginia had been pretty good in kick coverage. They were not, and it cost you. I mean, that's the thing. You're right. You could say Garrett Green's penalty cost you because it moved him up, allowed them to throw one out, and then have Smith the ability to reach the end zone. Okay, fine. Cost you the game potentially because you didn't bat it down. Cost you the game because of that 14-point swing. I mean, there's multiple things. Giving up a kickoff return for a touchdown was huge.
And Neil Brown
was
said
huge.
The kick wasn't supposed to go there, right? It was supposed to go either out of the end zone or to the corner, not to the guy. And then the coverage was bad, Tony. I mean, the guy, he wasn't touched. It's not even like breaking tackles. I don't think he was touched.
He made a hell of a stop-and-go play, though. I mean, he slammed those brakes and guys went flying by him.
He's a fast guy.
He's a good player.
And then he didn't even play later in the game. He must have gotten hurt because he wasn't back out there the last two kick returns. To your point that they did not have their fastball last night, so penalties, right? West Virginia was leading the Big 12 in penalties. And last night, they went the opposite direction. They get flagged for 8 accepted penalties. That cannot happen in that football game, and they did commit those penalties. And then the turnovers. There's only one of all that went on there last night. There's only one turnover, but it absolutely proved to be
huge,
fatal.
Huge.
As we said earlier, that was a 14-point swing. So
and he kept waiting for Houston to turn the ball over, thinking, well, they're going to turn it over.
And they really don't. Statistically, they don't.
They didn't, but West Virginia with another dropped interception. They've got to leave the lead in dropped interceptions. It was right there.
Koba.
Dixon.
I'm sorry.
Lance
That's
Dixon,
what I meant. I meant Lance Dixon. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so There were multiple. You focus on that last Hail Mary because given all the mistakes you had, you still just knock one pass down and you walk out of there still knowing those things happen. But okay, you got the win, so you can move on. But yeah, just that's a tough night all around, and I think it just comes back to because of the missed opportunity. Think where you are with a win right there at 5-1, feeling unbelievably good about yourself. Big picture, you're 4-2. I don't know that a lot of people had you at 4-2. You have 2 wins that you, based on the Vegas numbers, you shouldn't have had, and you just gave one back on one that by the number you should have had. So you're technically +1. If you want to try and move forward on a bright side of things, you're still +1 just based on those numbers. Now you got to regroup yourself.
I mean, you are. So that again is the logical way to look at it. But when you're 4-1, what do you want?
5. You get greedy, no question.
So you're thinking like, okay, you got it going. You're the favorite against a team that you should beat. So you start thinking like that. So that makes it even more
against a team that wanted to get beat. I mean, that defense for them, they were not doing anything that should have won them a game. You talk about a team that was ready to go down. Now, credit them because they found a way to not go down and made enough plays, but that's part of where your missed opportunity, what could have been, is going to be, right? That defense was ripe for the taking.
But I want to go back to the 4-1 because yes, 4-1, you deserve credit for being 4-1. But how close were those games? I mean, any of those games could have gone either way, right? Could have gone either way.
Absolutely.
But what did we talk about? Wow, it's great because West Virginia found a way to win. It wasn't like dominant performances. They found a way to win, but they were close. So then this was almost like an evening of things up. Like this game could have gone either way, and guess what? You found a way to lose.
Yeah, and that's why I say you're up 2 in games you probably shouldn't have won. Now you gave one back that you should have. But here's the thing, Hop, clue you in.
Yeah.
This is going to be the rest of the way of the season.
Yes.
You got a bunch of games that are going to go either way, and you make a couple mistakes, you're going to lose them. You make a couple plays, you're going to win those.
Yeah.
That's what the rest of the season's going to look like.
That's what this league is. That's what this league is.
This league is. Exactly right. Exactly right.
We have a texter later on, and I can jump ahead on that. And he says, if you're going to win ugly, there are going to be times that you lose ugly.
Yeah,
that's true.
That was last night. Mm-hmm. You lost ugly.
Sure.
All right, you ready for spreads on stats?
Yeah, hit it. I got
you.
Some.
Sure?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, we're ready.
He's going to the glasses already, so let's do this thing.
So I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes the heater.
Let's jump into the analytics portion of the show.
Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, we all have our opinions. We all have our views on what transpired last night. What did it all mean? Well, what about the experts that grade the tape, the film study? It's time for Spreads on Stats, brought to us by Conley CPA Group, complete service, public accounting and consulting firm, serving clients throughout the state of West Virginia and surrounding states since 1985. They bring you value beyond the numbers, so much more than preparing tax returns or adjusting account balances. They take a client-specific approach for the challenges that businesses face. It's the Conley CPA Group. All right, what does the folks at the film graders have for us?
Well, we'll get to grades here as we mix throughout this. Let's go back and look at a couple of things that we talked about, see how those graded out based on what we talked about last week. And really, there were 2 major issues for the defense last night. And let's start with the one that has been the key to West Virginia getting those 4 straight wins, and that's pressure on the quarterback. We talked on Thursday about the loss of Trey Lathan, and I thought that was going to end up being massive because it was a guy that hadn't just filled in as a good starter. He was performing at an all Big 12 level. He was one of your best pressure guys and was adding to that group that was getting to the quarterback. So no Lathan was a concern going into that game. We said you had to get to Donovan Smith. All the numbers, and this isn't unusual for quarterbacks. This just said, Hop, they don't like getting hit. They don't like being pressured. Right. Completion percentages plummet. Smith was no different. You needed to take advantage of the Houston right side of the offensive line, specifically right tackle. Remember, we highlighted that matchup. Well, overall, the Houston line did its job, particularly in the second half. The right tackle, though, gave up a team-high 3 pressures and ended as the lowest-graded blocker for the Cougars. That was a hole. West Virginia took advantage of it a few times. Unfortunately, just not enough times. Overall, you just didn't get home enough. Donovan Smith got way too comfortable, particularly in the second half. And comfortable might be an understatement, guys. I missed this in the moment last night. Did you realize Smith was 11 for 11 in the second half?
Yes.
Completed his last 16.
I know. I did not
Did you know that?
know that as it
I didn't know it was the
happening.
last 16.
Last 16.
Now, there were 2 incompletions, but those were waved off because of defensive pass interference.
Right.
That's incredible. No wonder you didn't get the win there. That just can't happen for a guy that normally has struggled under pressure. You just didn't get home with him. West Virginia had a season-low 11 quarterback pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. They came into the game averaging 18.4. Against TCU, you had 23. So you only managed those 11 last night. Smith had a 77% completion percentage when he wasn't under pressure, and 3 of his 4 touchdown passes came under that scenario. So that's a lot of numbers, as I often say, to back up what you saw. First half, they did a good job. They got after him. It was difficult for him. He was spooked on a couple throws, missed some easy passes. Second half was totally different. Their line did a good job. West Virginia couldn't get home like it was. That affected the coverage downfield, too. If you're going to sit in the zone and not get pressure, well, what happens? Guys are going to be open, right? They're going to sit in those spots, and it's easy to find them. Pressure's been the key. It just wasn't there last night, and that was uncharacteristic of where this defense has been.
Yeah. He got his mojo, and then you throw in the fact that he's 240 pounds, and they ran some quarterback-designed runs, and he banged in there and banged in there. That's a very, very valuable asset. My goodness.
The second major issue for the defense last night, Neil addressed this in the postgame, it was the tackling. Just wasn't good. A 43.9 tackling grade from PFF last night. That's the 3rd worst tackling performance under a Neil Brown team at West Virginia. So again, something you saw out there, just they didn't tackle enough. West Virginia was credited with 12 missed tackles according to PFF. So you knew that. You watched that.
What was the
that.
one stat? Excuse me. What was the one stat that Dana brought up during his press conference previous to the game?
Tackling.
He said, "Boy, that's a great tackling team." He said they form tackle. He said we missed 20 plus tackles in our last game. He goes, "Those guys tackle."
Correct.
And didn't get it done.
Correct. That did not go well. Okay, one other point that I think we need to talk about the offensive line for a second, because I thought that was a major deal going into the week. You're missing your entire side of your left line, including a pro and Wyatt Milam. And it not only, so the rushing game looked in the first half like it was on track. 115 yards rushing in the first half. You're on pace to get to 230. That's a winning formula for West Virginia. I thought the play calling throughout the whole night was very good. The poor Houston defensive staff had no idea what was coming at it, right? They were absolutely, the team was on skates and the staff had no idea how to answer that. There were some execution misses early, but you could see West Virginia was clicking and they didn't know what they were doing. Credit the offensive line here for a second, though, but it was a different game plan. We've said this. West Virginia's been left-handed with its starting lineup intact. Last night it went more right-handed. It was following over around the right edge where Doug Nestor is. Usually it goes around the left side. Real quick, just number on that. West Virginia as a team has 46 carries for 251 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns around the left edge. The next closest gap in terms of production is that left A gap, right past the center and guard. 32 carries for 153. So the left side has been its success. It was heavy right last night, had 10 carries going around the right edge. That was the most frequent gap last night. A stat that was alarming, but you saw how West Virginia adjusted to it. Houston stuffed WVU on 25% of its rush attempts at the line of scrimmage or behind. Well, that makes some sense because what was Houston saying? You're not running on us. You are absolutely not going to run the ball. We know you want to run the ball. We're not doing it.
7 in the box.
West Virginia did a great job, I thought. I know people were losing their mind at times, but this is why you sometimes just have to sit and chill out and watch the game, what they're doing. West Virginia kept trying to pound it up in there, and there were multiple times where it wasn't working. And I know people were screaming, what are you doing? Why are you running in the middle of the line? Well, if you were watching from behind what they were doing, did you see those safeties? Those safeties kept running up, and they kept running up. And what was that setting up? Over-the-top big passing plays, of which there were a ton. 11 or 15 plays of 15 yards or more last night? So the passing game, the rushing numbers aren't what they normally are, but you compensated with an unbelievable game through the air, and you torched that defense through the air. Credit those offensive linemen, Nick Malone in particular, the guards that were shifted into different spots that they're not used to. The pass blocking was tremendous. Green had time on almost every drop back. So not the running game or stats that you normally want, but offensively, that's not what lost you the game last night. You played very well offensively, and I credit that offensive line in a tough spot with guys in different positions playing pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, those are good points because you threw for 391 as a result because they did load the box up and they said, fine, you want to do that? Or go for 391. Yeah, you look at it, and West Virginia scored enough points to win the game had they had the normal type of a defense, or if
just
you don't
give
allow
us
the special teams touchdown.
That's right. Have the same kind of defensive performance you did. Just don't allow the kickoff return for a touchdown, which rarely happens. What other number here? Garrett Green threw for the 391 you just mentioned. Last time West Virginia threw for that many yards, go back to Will Greer 2018 against Oklahoma in that unbelievable back-and-forth game against Kyler Murray. Now, in 2019, West Virginia did throw for 498 as a team, but it was a tag team. Austin Kendall for 355, Daggy for 119 in the same game. West Virginia has only thrown for more yards than Green did last night 7 times in the last decade.
Wow.
So that was an unbelievable performance that, unfortunately, as you mentioned, along with Hudson Clement's great play at the end, is going to get lost a little bit because you didn't get the win. All right, so that's the bulk of I think that's the bulk of my stats there. Grade-wise, did you have any specific questions or anything jump out to you?
Who did well?
Well, offensively, it was some of the guys we just mentioned. The skill guys graded really well. Garrett Green, best offensive grade. Jaheim White was up there as well.
Well, Devin Carter, he had his coming out.
Excellent. Yeah, he's right up there. Hold on, I'll get you right now. Yeah, Green, Carter 2, Preston Fox 3, Cole Taylor 4. And here's where I said kudos. Nick Malone, your 5th highest graded offensive player and your highest graded offensive lineman, thanks to an 80 pass blocking grade there. So those guys did a great job of figuring out. Traylon Ray was up there as well, then Doug Nestor. So the usual suspects, you would think.
All right. So we'll get into these texts coming up in just a little bit. And you got to heal, man, like really, really quick, mentally, physically. You hope that you get Wyatt Milam back. You hope you get Tomas Rimac back, and you fix up your things. This will be the seminal moment of this season, coming up this week and next Saturday against Oklahoma State. Which way do they go? Which way do they go? That's what ultimately would determine. Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, your complete service public accounting and consulting firm, priding themselves on so much more than preparing a tax return or adjusting account balances. Client-specific challenges that you face, they consult, and they will help you, providing value beyond the numbers. It's the Conley CPA Group.
Real quick, just a clarification there.
Sure, go ahead, caller.
11 plays on the passing side of things, 11 pass plays of more than 15 yards for West Virginia last night. A 45, a 49, a 50 to end it, a 35.
That's incredible. That's what you were looking for. That's what you're hoping for, right?
Again, can you pick that up and say Garrett Green's going to throw for 391 next week? No. You know what I always say. One week does not make a trend. But I think you saw a lot last night. Again, pass blocking, very good. Receivers getting open and hanging onto the ball for the most part. Garrett Green with another incredible performance on downfield passing. Now, there were some misses in the flat and short. That wheel route was open all night. You had a bunch of them that worked. You had some that you missed. But I think you have to be encouraged as guys continue to get healthy and this offense continues to play together. You feel pretty good about where the run game has been. You saw some life over the TCU and Houston games with the passing game. This thing's starting to become something you could see where it gets to. And then Green with his feet. Huge last night, especially in the first half, keeping plays alive. So I think there's some sparks in there of an offense that you think will continue to get better throughout the year.
You can't, yes, in an objective way, you just can't let how that game ended, as they say, beat you twice. You can't have that hangover. But if you can take what you did offensively and try to continue that and fix the defensive problems, you'd be okay. But if you're still if your head's still upside down because of how that game ended, then you're going to have problems.
There's no doubt that's reason number one there. But as you start to look forward, part of the success you had last night, you're coming off a 5-game stretch where you faced some really good defenses. Penn State's outstanding. Pitt's not bad. TCU, Texas Tech can play defense. You're getting into an area where those defenses aren't as productive. Houston being the lead in that. I know it's one of the worst in the Big 12, so that's there. But you've got other teams down here. UCF hasn't been playing good defense. You get down into Cincinnati, at times has, other times hasn't. Baylor's been struggling defensively. So you like where the schedule's opening up for you.
Three Guys brought to us by Comax. When it comes to phone systems, Comax is there for you. Phones have changed through the years. If you're a business owner and you've been holding off, waiting, let Comax come in. They'll give you a free estimate as to what they can do for you with their digital phone services, from 1 line to 1,000 lines, all the bells and the whistles, no pun intended. You've got employees that are out in the field. Calls go to them and directly into their cell phone, not just to an extension. And your voicemail will actually work inside, outside, upside down. From 1 line to 1,000, they got it all. Visit ComaxWV.com. Comax Digital's phone systems, competitively priced, efficient. Ultimately, they save you money. Three Guys also brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. And as these guys were saying when we made our way into the studio today, what an unbelievable... Is it fall yet, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's officially fall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's been fall.
How long has that happened?
Number of weeks. Welcome aboard.
Missed that
You
one.
missed it. You were traveling.
Okay.
Missed that one.
Yeah.
A lot of things happen when people travel. You ever see the hoppy, like Brad was unavailable, he was traveling.
Unavailable for comment.
Unavailable
Traveling.
for comment, he was traveling.
When was that?
That's what the generic line is whenever they want a comment from somebody, goes, Mr. Kirchhoff was unavailable, he was traveling. So I missed it while I was traveling.
But you get you traveled. What? Where were you traveling?
Well,
were you in Antarctica? Was there no cell service?
That's their fall away line. You've never noticed that?
What's that?
Like in stories, like when they try to get a comment and someone's kind of like doesn't want to comment, so they go like, Mr. Smith was unavailable, he was traveling.
That's been one of the all-time great holdovers. Because that used to be true before cell phones, right?
Yeah.
You were traveling. It was hard to get a hold of you. Right? You had to get you right when you were in the hotel room, but you didn't answer. If somebody had to have the pink slip for you when you walked into the office, they hand it to you, right? That pink call message return. But that has held over and has unbelievable shelf life.
It does.
Almost as long as our rotary phone logo there.
That's gone. I think that's gone.
It is gone now.
Yeah, we changed that out.
The unavailable for comment while traveling still exists.
You remember you used to be in a hotel room and you couldn't, it was impossible to make a call. You could
just sit there pounding those numbers.
Is
it a 9? Is it an 8? Is it a 1? Why won't you? Yeah.
Or it would cost you $4.99.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like, why is my hotel bill another $50? Oh, you made a local call.
Well, you can make phone calls off your Lou Wendell pontoon boat, the premier pontoon boat dealer in the state of West Virginia. Might now be the great time to get one. Maybe as the season starts to wind down, you get yourself a little something special. Feature the Avalon pontoon boats, considered among the best in America, and they're 100% manufactured here in the United States. Visit Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. What do? They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Time for textual healing. And if ever there was a time that this audience and these three guys, the three of us, need healing, I mean, this was kind of like why this was created.
Yeah, this exact scenario.
Remember I said like, okay, we need to get healing. We need to get textual healing. So, to no surprise, the number of texts was extraordinary when we went over triple figures in the number of texts.
Really?
Yeah, so not all texts can be consumed.
For in-game text, you might get like one thing and then 12 seconds later get a very different text.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, there were several of those. So I do think that the text we're about to read encapsulize the general themes that people shared. There were obviously a lot of similar themes. Three guys before the game, and textual healing is brought to us by episode800.com, episode800.com, where you can get all of our Three Guys gear, Three Guys stuff, Three Guys coffee, and things like that. You think maybe if West Virginia would have held on to win, that the "Thanks for having us" T-shirts would have been flying?
Would have
today?
surpassed the efforting as the number one T-shirt sell in that store. It was ready.
Let's do this
I know a couple people had it queued up already.
in their shopping cart.
Not so much
That's what I'm
now.
saying.
They had it in their cart.
Yeah.
Got to wait on that now.
Texter says this game defines what it means to be a Mountaineer fan. They'll build you up to break your heart, yet we still love and root for them. Can't remember a Mountaineer game with the same type of emotion as when the basketball team rallied in the Sweet 16 against Texas to tie it with seconds remaining, only to let Kenton Paulino nail a buzzer beater that sent us home. Yeah, this would be the basketball version of that.
That to me, and I saw that text, so I didn't use it when we were talking about the two football examples. So to me, the direct comparison, the football is the Miami, but that's the one that really is the direct comparison where, I mean, I remember where we were sitting in Atlanta for that, in the stands. I could walk you right back where the temporary bleachers were. Pittsnoggle hits that shot. Went from the same feelings. Went from, oh, this is going to be a loss, to, oh my God, you're back in it, to, oh, he just... It was the same, that roller coaster. That, to me, is the direct comparison. When Paulino hit that shot to end the careers of Patrick and Hairbear and Pittsnoggle and Gansey and JD.
You know what's wild about that? I got a text this morning from John Beeline, and he said, is this Neil's active cell number? He said, I need to text him.
That's interesting.
So
it was a direct comparison. Two different sports, same wave of emotion where you thought you were done, then you were in it, then it went back the other way.
Coaches know.
Yeah.
John Beeline won't be the only coach that reaches out to Neil today, because that is that's the reality of this business. Sometimes you just get absolutely gutted. You just gutted. Texter says, encouraged by Garrett Green's performance, but not much else positive to take from this one. I said after TCU, perhaps this team's path to success was to play and win ugly. I guess I should have included that losing may be ugly too. Here's hoping that this loss does not linger and a win against Oak State can right the ship again, but I'll admit this one is going to be hard to shake from Greg in Pittsburgh. Texter, I'm going to start out with a stat you may or may not know. According to WVUstats.com, October 12, which was yesterday, 1907, West Virginia defeated the Parkersburg YMCA 55-zip.
It was a great game.
Now back to the present. West Virginia should not have lost tonight. However, I'm still proud of the growth of this team. West Virginia took me on yet another emotional roller coaster, and I'm fine with that because it's more about wins and losses for me. From the time I was old enough to remember until I joined the Air Force, my dad and I watched or listened to every game. I went to basic training during football season, and he wrote me the play-by-play to every game I missed and mailed it to me.
Wow.
Nice.
After that, we would call and text each other during the games until he passed away in 2021. No matter how bad we lose, West Virginia football always takes me back to my happy memories of my dad. I have to laugh, though, because I know exactly what he would have said after this loss. Quote, just like WVU, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Take care, three guys. Let's beat Oak State. Jeff from somewhere in the Mojave Desert.
Good perspective.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jeff. Good
exactly.
Texter, hello, Matt from Louisville. I went out to see my boy, Charles Wesley Godwin, last night, and throughout the show, my brother was sending me updates on the game. Then I get the text that we went ahead, and there's seconds left in the game. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be in here with all these people that doesn't know the greatest tradition in college football. Then I get the WTF text. High to low, Charles jammed out. There's a picture of Charles in concert last night there in Louisville.
Awesome.
Texter, here's another one. Remember Pittsnoggle banging down the three to beat Texas in the Sweet 16? That's the only other time I can remember this disgusting feeling of pure euphoria to total disbelief. Oh, this is Jeremy in Cooperstown. My brother Jesse, who lives in Houston, of all places, called me as Hudson ran in for the end zone, and we watched the last few plays on the phone together. Puke. That sucks. But I still like our team. Brad, I'd live bet us hard at the half. Puke again. Go Mountaineers. God bless you guys for doing a show tomorrow after that one. Still very much trusting the climb.
Sorry for the double loss there.
Yeah. Jake from
Team loses, you lost the bet. The dreaded double loss. Crucial.
Jake from Worked had a 6-word text. Why can't we have nice things? Question mark. Justin from Thornton. Hi, guys. Loyal advocate of trusting the climb since the beginning. I'm done. Game at Houston, a gauge of where this program is for me. That was a Rutgers type of game. You have to win it. WV had the advantage in the stats, talent, momentum. But yeah, here we are. Get us a coach that can take WV to the next level.
Yeah, again, I get all the emotion of that loss. That's brutal. But I'll say again, especially on the offensive side, I thought the game plan was flat out outstanding. I thought they mixed in some new things. They did exactly what you had to do in baiting in those safeties, and then took advantage of what they gave you while switching your identity within the course of a season. That's a team that has not thrown the ball well, has struggled to throw the ball, and Neil Brown and those players said, okay, you know what? Fine. You can't defend the pass? We're going to pass, and we're going to light you up with the pass. So I disagree with that, and I know people are going to scream when you lose, and it's always the coach. I get it. But I thought, in particular, on the offensive side, Neil and that staff had a good plan last night.
That was, in our coverage, that was one of the things that Steve Dunlap that really stood out to him early. He said, how do you throw the opponent off is you go against tendencies, right? So and that's what West Virginia did, and they did it successfully.
Well, and the biggest tendency there, and I didn't go back and pull the final number, but there's only one team in Power 5 that has thrown the ball less on first down than West Virginia, and that's Nebraska. What did West Virginia do on a lot of first downs? I'll have that by the time you're done with Tex. What they do on first downs last night?
Yeah,
with a lot of success. Yeah. Threw it and broke those tendencies. So that tells me that's a great job by that staff of knowing what they think you're going to do, showing them that it might be, and then boom, then hitting you over the top. So I disagree with that when you say last night was about poor coaching, especially on the offensive side.
Texter, I'll never understand the common defensive strategy used by 99% of teams against the Hail Mary. What's the better odds of success against it? Rushing 3 huge linemen that almost guarantees a successful attempt to the end zone that produces a 50-50 jump ball situation among 3 or 4 players on both teams. Or applying an all-out blitz that in almost every case would prevent the throw into the end zone at all. No-brainer. There's absolutely no way a team should lose with only seconds left in a game on a pass from 50 yards out. Well, maybe only a 1% chance on a blitz versus a 50% chance with a 3-man rush. Signed by John.
I'm not a coach. I'm not sure I agree with that either. I think that how often does the Hail Mary work? Almost never. And why does it usually not work? Because it's a very, very long odds play, and usually it is a just jump ball. But, you're not tipping it. You're trying to catch it. It's just – and the defender – who was the defender? It mistimed the jump, but there was wasn't there like 5 Mountaineers back there?
Yeah.
I mean, you run that play 50 times, it fails 49 times. Agreed, Brad?
Yeah. At the end of the day, the answer is what the answer is most of the time. You got to execute. You could draw up a bunch of different things. You've got to execute, right? Does Neil win a Coach of the Year award for the win offensively, or did Hudson Clement make a great play at the end, right? That he made a great play. Sometimes it's the players. You can say that it's the players when it's good and bad. It's not always just the head coach that either gets the blame or the credit. Sometimes it's the players, and you can say that. Guys didn't execute on the Hail Mary play. It's as simple as that, and that's what they'll say over in the building, right? That those guys know that. If anybody knows that, it's the players that didn't make the play. They know when they didn't execute. If you've ever played the game, you know when you did not execute and do your job. It's as simple as that. And we can scream and holler about a million other things, but sometimes you just have to make plays, and sometimes you don't. And it costs you games.
And the easy thing is always to point a finger at a coach.
Sure.
No matter who the coach is, no matter what it is, always the coach. That's just part of this business.
And I get that they share in the blame, too. That's part of the deal of being the coach. I get that, too. But at the end of the day, you just got to execute plays. It's just simple as that.
Scope spreads Triple H, Big Z for Morgantown. He kind of writes his poem. Oh, the agony of tonight's defeat. The Mountaineers, once proud, now a symphony of despair. The defense, a tragic tale of missed opportunities. Knock the ball down, they cried, but alas, the echoes of defeat linger, leaving a heart torn asunder. Ah. Hop, you've read some poetry. Is that pretty good? Or
yeah, well, it's heartfelt and indicative of the suffering that fans have. And as we like to say, to be a Mountaineer fan is to suffer. But to be a fan of anything is to suffer.
Yeah.
I mean, That's the nature of fandom, is exhilaration and suffering. And if you're committed to being a fan, part of the bargain is that you accept both.
Yeah. If you enter yourself into the contest to embrace the jubilation that comes with it, you also must take the ugliness sometimes that comes with it as well.
Yeah.
Dear Three Guys, it is with a heavy heart, a very heavy heart, that I must excuse myself for the rest of this season. If that wasn't a clear sign that I need to spend less time watching sports, I don't know what it is. It has been a fun ride. I'll be back for the summer series that starts in the spring. Thank you.
Wow, somebody really hurting there.
Can I jump back in? I found that stat I was looking for.
Sure.
So talk about breaking tendencies and doing a good job of self-scout and what the game plan is going to be. So again, one team in Power 5 has thrown it less on first down than West Virginia. They're almost entirely run on first down. Last night, West Virginia, 19 pass attempts on first down. 7 of 19 for 139.
How many first downs? How many? How do you know how was that? Out of how many plays? How many first downs do they? How many first down
So you
plays?
gained 26 first downs,
Oh, okay.
right? So if you threw it 19 times out of
26.
there, yeah, after being the second lowest frequency passing on first down team.
Mike from Oakdale, 2003 Miami, Quincy Wilson game, exactly the same. Let's hope this team can rally the rest of the way like the 03 team did. Keep climbing, let's go. Andrew in Little Rock, by way of Parkersburg, whatever that was, it has got to be the most jolting Mountaineer emotional roller coaster I've been on since the run. I really thought this team and Neil were busting through their leg braces for good like Forrest Gump right in front of our eyes, and maybe they still did. But I've got to think next week is a likely letdown spot now. Man, oh my, I need some melatonin. Texter. I'm a P1 listener, first-time texter. I've been waiting for something meaningful to say because if I texted any time I read a favorable betting line worth getting input on, Conley CPA Group would inadvertently be out of business. I recently traveled to Sun Valley, Idaho for the Trailing of the Sheep Festival. While there,
Excuse me?
I will read that again. I recently traveled to Sun Valley, Idaho for the Trailing of the Sheep Festival.
I have to look that up.
I'm sure you will. While there, I decided to stop in for a drink. While I was disappointed that the Chestnut Brew Works empire had not yet expanded westward, I was pleased by conversation I had with one of the workers. I handed him my ID. He smirked while reading back my address. Hurricane, West Virginia. I was shocked because he even pronounced it correctly. I asked him, microphone on please, Brad.
Ooh,
I asked him
why
if
don't you
he
turn
had
that
a
off?
connection to the location since he knew how to pronounce it. Despite being 2,000 miles away, the gentleman proceeded to tell me his connection, originally from Akron, spent time in Huntington with his girlfriend from Winfield.
Amazing.
We chatted about the world champion Mountaineers before both letting out a Let's Go Mountaineers, signed by Boyd in Boise, not my real name.
Shout out Boise. Love Boise.
Great place.
Beautiful.
Trailing of the Sheep Festival. Need some help on the website. 27th anniversary of the Trailing of the Sheep Festival. It was October 4th through the 8th in the Wood River Valley of Idaho.
What is it? Like, what do they do? They
Well,
follow them?
The main page has a picture of a lot of sheep. So, but I mean, usually there's a main page that says this is the history of it. I can't find
Work
that.
on that for us.
I will.
Okay.
History. Oh, wait a minute. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, no, let's step away from football for a second. Ben in Wilmington, North Carolina. With the recent Kansas basketball announcement, the NCAA has made it clear there are no consequences
here
for
we go.
rules violations. If Raekwon Battle is denied his waiver, I propose the following. Write a letter to the NCAA stating that the school respectfully disagrees with the decision and is evaluating legal options. The legal team plans to seek an injunction, but in the meantime, Battle will play this season. If the NCAA responds, just keep repeating that the school plans to seek an injunction. In order to muck up the investigation, members of the athletic department and legal team writes lots of emails and texts to one another with vague statements, obliquely referencing in-person conversations with phone calls with unnamed individuals who have said that they believe West Virginia could get Battle cleared after the season is over, release a statement saying they have come to a conclusion that they have decided Battle should not have played and the school will be self-imposing a 3-game ban for the head coach at the beginning of next season. Finally, tell the NCAA the school eagerly awaits the results of the investigation in fall 2029. Hashtag no rules.
Brad?
Brad, I don't know if you saw, but Kansas,
What?
I didn't know if you saw Kansas had its punishment handed down.
What'd they have handed down to them?
It's their punishment.
What happened?
Take the
Well,
banner down.
I mean, it's like a 4-year investigation with a lot of calls and transcripts and tape. I'm sure.
Overwhelming amount of evidence, they said.
I'm sure there was a lot of sanctions levied.
Nah, they just have to give back the Big 12 trophy and take the banner down.
Yeah, so they vacated some wins there for using an illegal player, a gentleman by the name of Sylvia DeSosa, who's actually come up on this show quite a bit.
You've mentioned him.
Yeah, he played in a game, Big 12 basketball tournament championship game. He was a heck of a player that night, had 16 and 10, in which Kansas defeated West Virginia 81-70, thereby keeping West Virginia from claiming its first ever Big 12 tournament title. So is that one of the games that Kansas has now vacated?
Yeah.
And they can't claim the championship. They have to pull their banner down.
Mm-hmm.
I've said this before. I said it yesterday, Hoppy, on our coverage.
Yes, you
Propose
did.
a couple things. Either head over and just pick the banner up from them, bring it back to the Coliseum and hang the thing, or just go ahead, if you wanted to match the motif in the Coliseum, just go get your own one made. Congratulations to the basketball team of 2017-2018 for winning its first Big 12 tournament championship.
So you say go full out UCF football on them when they declare the
UCF
national
did it.
championship.
They made rings in the whole thing. I mean, West Virginia won the thing. Kansas used an illegal player. Well documented. Quite frankly, it was documented at the time. Well documented. Hang the banner. Hashtag HTB. Hang the banner. You won it. Congratulations, West Virginia. The second part of this, to be serious for a moment, although that's mostly serious by me. I mean, and I get it. I get that I can say that. Ren probably can't actually go through with that. Although, man, it'd be great. I might show up at a basketball game carrying my own homemade banner. Might do that. Might try that.
Well, you said get shirts made. You said.
Well, we're efforting, working on it right now.
Big 12 tournament champions.
We'll probably be up in the store soon. Not to pull a Tony and overpromise
Are you gonna have
something
are you
that's
gonna
not there.
ask?
Hashtag HTB. Hang the banner. You won the championship. The second part of this, so if we can just have a serious discussion. So this NCAA particular group, with all of the information they seemingly had, with no real sanctions coming for Kansas, and Pat Forty had a really good article. Pat Forty of SI had an article, said he got a text from a coach that said, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, for all of us that followed the rules during that time, the joke was on us. Hard to not see it that way. Mm-hmm. But this is the same organization now that West Virginia is waiting with bated breath to see if it's going to approve and whether Raekwon Battle is worthy of a waiver or not. You're now going to listen to what this organization says, given what has just transpired over this whole paying a player situation from years ago. There really were no sanctions that came out of that for anybody. And now West Virginia and Raekwon Battle have to sit and wait for this organization. Do you have a lot of trust that this organization is making the best decisions possible?
No, I mean, it's just yet another classic example of the illogical process that the NCAA uses in these enforcement cases. I mean, there is no linear process that you can follow. It is arbitrary. It is, I mean, Bill Self started off with 5 level 1 violations when this began, 5 level 1s. And when it was finalized, he had 1 level 3. And they told me, my folks at Kansas told me what they were going to do when this was happening. They said, just keep slow playing it. Just keep slow playing it. Take it to court. Threaten you're going to do court. Threaten you to court. And you just basically, you wear them down. You wear them down. You wear them down. And so it's another huge black mark as far as the way and the process that the NCAA works. It takes away from the organization. People look at it, as you said, coaches just kind of shake their head and laugh. And it's just this lack of any kind of consistency that you can't trust it. And as a result, when you don't have trust in an entity, it begins to lose its power and its effectiveness, and that's what we continue to see.
Yeah, and a lot of it, and I've said this before, so I won't rehash or plow the same ground I've plowed before, as someone that worked in that industry, in athletic departments, when compliance was a big deal from the local level, so to speak, when the individual schools held their own employees and coaches accountable for compliance, which is not the tenor now for a lot of schools. In fact, we've seen it throughout this entire investigation of multiple schools. The school itself doubling down and protecting the coach that did the wrongdoing and saying, no, he didn't do that. He didn't do that, and doubling down against that. So, of course, the NCAA is ineffective in enforcement because the local schools that are the NCAA aren't enforcing their own rules. So how can that random body out in Indianapolis enforce? But I will say again, then why is anybody playing by the rules? Why are you sitting around waiting to see what they say about Raekwon Battle?
Yeah.
Come out today. And again, I know this is easy for me to say, and Ren Baker can't actually do this, Hoppy. I get the constraints that you operate within when you're a member of that organization that we're not operating within. But by God, how are you not ready to fire a letter off today or a press release saying we have approved ourselves, our own compliance office at WVU has approved Raekwon Battle's waiver, and he will be playing this year. Best of luck to everybody. Thanks for having us, NCAA.
Well, you saw North Carolina put the chips in. That's what they did to get their football
and
player eligible.
every kind of lawsuit
they threatened
possible
everything,
to get it.
the attorney general involved. They get everything, and then just like, yeah.
Well, here, think about
that
this.
would be maddening, Kirchhoff. How do you reconcile that if you're a school and you watch this going on and you know what's going on and you have to sit there and go, okay, yeah, we'll listen to what you say. How possibly can you rectify that?
You can't because of the injustice that exists in the way that these rules are enforced. I mean, think about this. Why do most people follow the law? Most people follow the law because they have a sense, they have a moral code that tells them right from wrong, and say, well, it'd be wrong to do that. Okay, so there's a moral code. And the second thing is that also they realize that people get arrested for doing certain things, that there are consequences for doing certain things or breaking the law. Okay, so that's why we have the rule of law, and we have a general observation of the laws. But if you look at college sports, first of all, I'm not sure there is a moral code, okay, among a lot of these schools. And second of all, if there's not some regular enforcement, what the heck? Why then would you be motivated, even if you didn't have the moral issue? Why would you be motivated to follow the law? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%. And I think you're at that second point now. What's the penalty for playing a player that ultimately is deemed ineligible?
Now,
what happens? Did anybody lose their job over that?
Now you did.
Did anybody lose their job over that?
No.
You vacated some wins. Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Did Kansas, did all those players from the 2018 team that got Final Four rings, did they give those rings back too?
And by the way,
Or they still have those?
By the way, what just came out today? Kansas is predicted to win the league. There's no asterisk to that. There's no one say, well, Kansas is not eligible to win the league because of something that took place.
Because it's pro wrestling, dude. It's pro wrestling.
Now, Brad, but Brad, bring up. I want you to make another point, Brad. That we talked about this last night. That you did make a good point on behalf of not dropping the hammer on Kansas.
Yeah. So here's why. So if I'm arguing both sides, and I'm the NCAA group, I would say this, and it's part of why, if you want to evaluate legal strategy, Carolina still sits as the ultimate. When they got nabbed for having sham fake classes that athletes were in, right? They just flat out made it up.
Well, that's because the other students
Anybody
that weren't
can take
athletes,
it wasn't an
classes.
extra benefit to athletes because we had regular students in there that we were giving degrees away to. One of the all-time great legal argument loopholes that North Carolina went, well, is that right? We just give away degrees to everybody. Regular students, that's not an extra benefit. That sits in a museum by itself of the all-time great. Well, you think you got me? You think you don't have me now? Because guess what we did? We gave it away to all students.
You can't arrest me for speeding because everybody speeds.
Tommy from Asheville got a free degree as well without ever having to go to class. Right. So that's an all-timer. This was a smart strategy by Kansas. Drag your feet, prolong it, stop it, don't talk to them, takes a while, get going, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and 4 years later, now it's just pay for play. Everybody gets paid. So how could the NCAA have come out now and said, you know what, Bill Self, you're on probation for the rest of your life. Kansas, everybody's fired. Kansas, you will never play in an NCAA tournament again for 20 years. You're all on probation for paying players. When right now, what are you doing, Hoppy?
You're
What's
paying
legal?
Players.
You're just paying players. So it was. If you want to take it from that standpoint, and if a law school wants to study great lawyering, it was great lawyering.
Yeah.
It was great lawyering.
Yeah, they played them to a
I mean,
T.
and you see, Brad, I think that's a really good point because people would be going like, yeah, it was wrong, but how can you punish them now for what everybody is doing? I think that's a great point. And people would go, that doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, so for all my bluster and screaming, that I'm sure that's what the answer is from that committee.
And
by the way, no longer exists. This was the final. They pulled the door shut of the conference room as they were walking out, Tony. That was that group that came that was supposed to be real. So they shut the door behind them, kind of like the close of a TV series. That was their final act. They just shut the door and walked and said, we're out. Yeah. We'll have no further comment.
But the investigation was to paying a player, and it takes 4 years? How does it take 4 years and not 4 weeks?
They slow played them. They slow played
it. But the federal government didn't get anywhere with this either. They made a big production of all of this. and they put a couple assistant coaches in jail over it. Are you like, you know who's pissed? You know who should be really pissed?
The assistant coaches.
The assistant coaches that went to jail over this.
Book.
Oklahoma State should be blowing the doors off their whole operation right now.
Absolutely.
You talk about the one school that got hit and had to sit out postseason. Is that Oklahoma State? And I'm not here to be an Oklahoma State Cowboy today, but my God, I would be hot if I'm them.
Oh.
And if I was one of those guys that went to jail over this,
Book.
are you kidding me?
What was Book's
The
name?
Rifleman, Chuck Person also went. Book Richardson also.
Booker Richardson.
They went to jail over this?
Prison. Federal prison.
Huh?
Got breaking news.
Well, what?
Breaking news. Just received this.
Okay.
You do breaking news on a recorded podcast?
Never done breaking
It's
news.
live. We're live, so we got to get it
I've
on.
never done breaking news on a promotion.
Oh.
Excuse me?
Lou Wendell Marine Sales has a 3-guys special.
Oh, nice.
Direct your attention. This is a 2023 Avalon 2385 Entertainer, top of the line tri-tune model. You can use this for water skiing adventures, tubing, of course, entertaining family and friends. Got a Fusion amp, 6 lighted speakers, easy to use power steering, power assist, slate teak flooring,
Power steering.
interior, exterior LED lights, just a few of the factory options, along with the Honda 150 motor and trailer. You go to Lou Wendell and you say,
Ooh, trailer with it?
yeah. You go to Lou Wendell
Take it to
in St. Albans and you
Summersville
say, you're asking
Cheat
for,
Lake,
I'm asking,
Tigard Valley Lake.
would you listen?
I'm sorry, go
You
ahead.
have to ask for the 3-guys special price. And the price is $89,774.
Okay.
Unbelievable deal on the 2023 Avalon 2385 Entertainer. That's basically a party boat.
Now, that is a nice boat.
Maybe the same one that they use on those James Bond movies.
Well, that's unconfirmed.
Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Back to the text
Nice.
line.
Awesome.
Summersville Lake.
Tigard Valley Lake is beautiful. Oh, just
Long
coming up
River.
to Cheat Lake Marina, drop it right on the boat launch right there.
Decker's Creek.
Traveling Sheep Festival.
Clinton Water District.
I don't think you can put the pontoon there. Nice bodies of water you've referenced.
Dense Run.
Mon River.
Dallas
All right, move on. We're done.
There's no water in Dallas.
Now we're back to tourism. Just naming tourist attractions around the state. Go to the next text. Where you go?
Black Waterfall.
Now I need a minute. I'm sweating. You got me sweating during our coverage yesterday, yelling about this thing.
Your take on Kansas, though, was great.
By the way, if you can't carry your own banner into the Coliseum, I don't think they allow that anymore. It didn't before. If you can't carry your own banner in there, we're going to work on those shirts.
What we need is, all right,
Hang the banner. Hashtag HTV.
the Mountaineer Maniacs.
Yeah,
We need to tie
they
them
could
in.
unfurl one.
I know, but you really can't. You're not allowed to bring banners in. It's you're not supposed to.
So you're back to your athletic department days.
Well, I
now.
know it's.
Randy from
That's
State.
perfect.
Randy
I
from
mean, they should just hang it.
Well, they're not, I mean, why not? I mean, look, you play. Here's the equivalent. I'm sorry, Tony. You played Sweet Caroline during the pit game, right?
Yeah, they did.
That sort of opens the door. That opens the door for this kind of stuff.
Here's the other thing. I mean, I know you vacate the wins, but the schools that lost still hang the L, right? They don't get to scrub the L's from
That
their
is true.
record.
That
Oh,
is
really?
true.
Hugs is carrying around extra L's from that Kansas, right?
That
The
is
school's
true.
program carrying around extra L's. They don't have the win, but you take the L?
That is so true. That's
That's also nuts, too.
That's illogical.
It is illogical. If you subtract a win,
Then the game didn't count. The game,
yeah, right. The game, yeah.
It neutered the game.
And I'm right on that, correct? Those losses aren't vacated.
No.
The losses stay.
Yeah, West Virginia's not changing its record today.
Asterisk it. Asterisk.
By the way, Hoppy referred to the Big 12 poll from the coaches. Kansas was 1, newcomer Houston 2, West Virginia 9. West Virginia 9 preseason.
Yeah.
I have more football text, by the way. So
Okay, we'll get to
sorry.
the basketball real quick. That's a good spot for West Virginia. If that, it won't hold in that order. Breaking news. It will not hold in that order. If it does, West Virginia's squarely in the mix for an NCAA tournament bid. If you're 9th in this league, you're going to be around it coming down the stretch. More on that.
You already
coming
got
up.
them in the show already?
No, I just said if those standings were to hold, you're going to have 8 or 9 teams that are going to be in the mix for the Big 12 or for the NCAA tournament.
Tony would like to continue.
Randy from State College. I think I said his name 16 times right now. Second half, 12 possessions. 8 touchdowns. Good for TV, I know, but great offense or bad defense? I know you can cop out and say a little bit of both, but let's face it, that was not Mahomes out there for either team. Bad defense, really bad. I love the show. Jay in Asheville, North Carolina. Aaron Rodgers said it best. RELAX, relax. This WVU team is tough. A gut punch won't knock them out. Go Mountaineers.
Aaron Rodgers said it best. I was just on the McAfee show. Where's my check?
Who had that song, Relax? That Frankie Does Hollywood?
Relax. Do it. Frankie.
Frankie Does Hollywood?
Yeah. How do you know that? How do you
Well, I'm always
possibly
accused of
know?
not liking music, and
You
he
hate
always wants
music.
to tout that he was a DJ. I also DJ'd back in the days of carts.
Relax.
To it. And you want to get
Frankie Does Hollywood.
to it?
In true world champion Mountaineer form, we have
Yes.
lost a game that we should have won. I'd forgotten that while I asked for us to be competitive. That usually comes with anxiety-inducing final minutes. I'll not soon forget it. 4-2 still better than what a lot of us had, so let's move on, focus on the schedule ahead. Texter. Beyond the Sun coming up, when I got into my car this morning, first song I hear on XM Country Roads. Country Roads was on, All Is Well.
Good start to the day.
Oh, my.
What's happening?
As we always tell you, folks at Gomart are unbelievable.
Go for good times.
Reese Cup stuff.
You got Reese Cup stuff?
Yeah.
I am kind of
From where? Daniels?
I never saw these ones. Reese's makes footballs. Did you know this?
No.
Football.
the shapes.
Here.
Yeah, I'll take those. Thank you.
Bunch of stuff. What is this? This is from,
This is nice.
you can get anything you need. You can get it. I have no idea what this is.
These footballs are going to be awesome because they're basically the eggs. They've just put the laces on there, and you know, much discussed, eggs, perfect ratio. My favorite of all the shapes, the original.
I do.
Look at that mug.
Oh, that's a nice mug.
Yeah, this is a Joel, longtime P1 listener, sent us this, but he wanted to let us know that go to Gomart. You can get all these Reese's. I'm not saying they sell the mug, but he sent us candy from there.
Good Reese's selection at Gomart is what you're saying.
You got some of those Reese's. Mug not included. But anyway, don't forget, we tape on Friday. Saturday, of course, would be tomorrow. And you can get triple rewards points in the month of October on Saturdays. So you get your Gomart rewards card, triple rewards points. That means quicker and more food and fuel options. Go to Gomart's website, gomart.com, sign up for the rewards card, and they will triple your points starting tomorrow. Texter, Tyler, not from Tyler County. Lately, I had some free time, and I stumbled across an artificial intelligence image generator, so I wondered what could possibly happen if I entered the prompt, 3 guys before the game podcast, West Virginia Mountaineers, scopes, spreads, hoppy, illustration. Safe to say the results did not disappoint. Hopefully you clowns get as much of a laugh from these as I get from Brad jumping on Tony for over-promising stuff at the food court. Thanks for the laughs, and insight. Can't wait for episode 800. So that's Hoppy. Now, Hoppy, that's called artificial intelligence. Now, that's AI.
That's a cool shot. If that looked anything like us, maybe it looks a little bit like you, although you don't have a beard.
Yeah,
Is it all the same guy? That's a cool image, though.
You could refine those. You could now put in there and go, hey, there's one without beards.
When did Reese Davis get on the podcast? Far right of the screen. Reese Davis from ESPN on the podcast.
Boy. So thanks very much for doing that. They missed. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they misspelled guys.
Misspelled guys.
Yeah,
There's the
that's
yeah.
not perfect yet. Working in progress. Efforting.
Yeah, they're efforting. So thanks very much for doing that. Willie G from Elkview, longtime listener, second time I've texted. Watching the latest episode regarding cowboy hats, I was at Stonewall Resort last March for my anniversary. There's a plethora of people in cowboy hats, cowboy boots, large belt buckles. I assume they're there with the West Virginia Cattlemen's or the West Virginia Farm Bureau convention or something like that. Out of curiosity, I eventually looked at the events list for the weekend. Came to find out it was the West Virginia Auctioneers Convention.
Oh.
My thought was, Tony needs to be here, but he'd need a whole new wardrobe. Well, now that we know that you don't look like a total Yankee city slicker in a cowboy hat, you could attend the West Virginia Auctioneers Convention and fit right in. Love the show. Hopes for 800 plus. Don't forget friendly people at the Elkview Exit 9 Go-Mart for your coffee, induced pee breaks, and fly rod Slim Jims. They're there for you.
Perfect.
Good
Hop,
plug.
you probably-
Good plug for the Elkview Go-Mart. Been to that one.
Hop, you've probably stopped there at the Elkview Go-Mart.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of like that Oasis right before Charleston or
Yep.
when you're leaving
Yep.
Charleston. It's kind of like,
Yep.
here it is.
It's just
hit
because that's a critical point for me. Am I going to be able to make it to Charleston? No, I got to stop. And then on the return trip, I'm going to stop here first, get some snacks.
Get out in front of it. Get
Exactly.
some snacks. Yeah.
Go for good times. Go for Go-Mart.
Daniels.
So the food court's all set for Oklahoma State?
Oh, is it?
Food court's all ready? Oklahoma State?
Excuse me?
It's good to go, right?
I think it's good to go.
So you're confirming it,
Well,
not denying it.
no, I'm not. That's a better way to say that. Not denying it.
All right, I
Not
will.
Or am I
denying
jumping
it.
down you for overpromising? The plan is to have it, yes.
Yeah, 8 a.m. to 3.
Okay. Sure.
8 a.m. to 3.
Working on
Food
some new
court.
food options. If the food options come through that I was told, that is nice.
Well, tell me what they are so I can overpromise them. I haven't heard.
Oh, I don't remember. But they're good.
Give me
Is Rev Kev going to be there?
Yeah, he's doing it.
Yeah, and Kercheval.
Excellent.
Yeah.
The staples.
Got to stop at the Kroger?
You can get it at the Kroger.
Yeah.
Kercheval. Available now at the
While
Kroger.
supply lasts. P1 listener, I'm a first-time texter heading to the Oklahoma game with some dudes staying in Oklahoma City. Need a dinner recommendation. Also, this could be a great segment leading up to road games. Give recommendations where to eat, what to see. Love the show, Chris Harvest Ridge. That is a good idea, Chris. I don't have anything right now, but when we get ready for that game, I think that each week when we do have a road game, I'll give you like 3 places that have been that I will crowdsource for my people out there and say, okay, where's 3 places you would go eat?
You always do meat, though, right? I mean, you don't do...
I did fish in
Did you?
Houston.
Did you?
Yeah, and it was sensational.
Really?
Reason?
I went to dinner with Chris Wallace, our buddy from Buchanan,
Oh.
Houston Rockets.
Sure.
And he said, I got this. He gave me 3 options. There's fish place. There's good fish place. And he knows food. I ate with him 100 years ago. I once ate with Chris. I flew into Monroe, Louisiana to do a game.
Monroe?
Yep. And I'm walking in the airport, and here's Chris. The airport's about as big as this room. And he was in there scouting at the time for whatever NBA team he was with. And he says, you want to go eat? I said, yeah. So I'm doing the game with Jim Spinarkle.
Yeah, yeah.
So I said, hey, Jim, you want to come eat? He goes, yeah. So Wallace knows all these places. He brings us to the seafood place. I mean, classic Cajun seafood place. They put up the big brown,
Oh, yeah. On the table.
Yeah.
put the paper
And then
out
just
there.
dump it right on
and
there.
they dumped it on there?
Yeah.
So, Chris and I, we rolled the sleeves up and we're ready to go face in. Jim, Duke guy,
Wasn't his deal?
not so much. Kind of looked at us like, what situation did I just get here? And Chris just brought that up when we were eating there this week.
See what
But,
seafood, huh?
That's the low country way,
yeah,
right?
correct. But
Yeah.
it was absolutely sensational. I crushed it. It was really, really good.
Is that the same thing you had at where you went in Houston?
No, I got redfish at this place this
Oh,
week.
yeah.
Real
Like,
point of clarification. Are you going to remember to bring the Oklahoma recommendations, or does Chris have to resend that text?
Thank you. Resend that the week that we go to
good
Oklahoma.
planning. Yeah.
Because I've had limited sleep, and as a result, I spent most of the beginning of the show telling Hoppy to get closer to his mic because I kept jamming his volume up on his mic. Volume. I realized I was bringing Brad's mic up instead. Why isn't Hoppy's voice getting louder? I keep putting. Oh, that's not Hoppy's.
So
Sorry
you
about
had
that.
a mic situation over there, did you?
Just
a teeny
Thought
little.
that never
Was
happened.
I
with
mean,
you.
No, you were on it, but I kept lifting his, and your volume wouldn't go up. And I'm going, what the heck's going on
See,
here?
as usual, he was accusing someone else of having the mic problem when in fact the mic problem resided with the host.
I mean, he got. What time did you get back?
I got to bed after 5. Yeah.
well, not the first time he's traveled and done a show. I mean,
I know, but he's tired.
All right. So schedule.
soft in your old age.
Yeah, he is. Schedule wise, since we're doing this on Friday,
Oh yeah, I'm tired. I'm not coming in today. How would you have handled that?
our next show is
We're all here.
Thursday. We will preview West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Brad will have all of the details on the food court for next week, which opens at 8 a.m. next to Daniel's. And as Brad has promised, new food options are going to be available, and we'd love to see you
What are
there. Give me a hint. Food type. Food type.
I don't remember.
All right.
deposition. I don't recall.
I really actually don't remember. I just remember reading it saying, "Oh,
What's wrong? You tired?"
Those are both very good.
Oh, I'll do it next show.
There's a couple of them.
Remind me on the other stuff.
Also, speaking of forgetting stuff, we got an additional package of delivery that had some Reese peanut butter cups that I forgot to bring in, but we'll do that Thursday.
And our guy Chase Hernandez in Houston brought me a bunch of super unbelievable goodies. We'll talk about that. Now, that's on you to remember.
Well, where are those? Did you eat them all?
Upstairs. 3 guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. By Gomart. Go for good times. Go for Gomart. Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. Unbelievable special available to you right now. If you're thinking pontoon, visit LouWendellMarineSales.com and take a look at their 3 guy special, but you have to tell them you're looking for the 3 guys deal. 3 guys also brought to us by Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. We return to you next Thursday with our preview of Oak State. And got to get it. Have yourself a great weekend. Go for a long walk. Let this thing clear through your system. That's my recommendation.
And don't forget, hashtag HTB.
Yeah.
Hang the banner.
Hang the banner.
Hang the banner. All right. We're out. Be good. Producer Luke Rousey, thank you. See you.